Hi, hi Margot. Hi everyone. I'm so excited. Welcome to the other side of 2023. I'm Anaïs. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a career coach and my passion is to support women to build a career they're truly happy with. So this session today is actually the first of the year. I'm so excited, Margot, that you are here with us. I'm not going to say more. I just want you to get a chance to introduce yourself, if that's okay.
Cool. Hi, Brian. So I'm Margot. I'm French. Um, Currently just relocated to Paris, but I've just spent 7 years in London. And I'm a health coach. So I'm a health coach. I work with women who want to rebuild their health. And yeah, we're going to see in a bit more details what that actually means or what the challenges we can have.
Amazing. So for those of you, and this is where I'm staring at you right here, you who might not have had a chance to join one of those sessions, make yourself comfortable, grab notes, a lunch, because obviously this is a lunch and learn session, but no pressure if you're not eating anything. And of course, ask as many questions as you'd like. I do have an eye on the chat, so we'll make sure we're not missing anything. I do have a bunch of questions I want to ask you, Margot. But just for anyone who hasn't had a chance again to come to one of those, I wanted to make sure that we are starting the year not to talk about career and goals and objectives and just get straight head down into doing things. I'm actually so happy, Margot, that you're here to talk about the overall, for me, overarching theme, which is your health, your mental health, your health in the sense of physical, any form it can take. I think it's really, really key for having solid foundations to actually start the year with all the chances of your success on your side. So on that note, maybe let's talk about the title, because I know we got pretty sort of a high level in the sense of talking about ownership, both in terms of health and life. And I think it's actually a good place to start. I can see that Salome is here with us. So hi, Salome. It's lovely that you're here. Happy New Year. All the best wishes to anyone listening in, whether it's live or replay. And without further ado, I think it's time for me to head back the floor to you, Margot, to talk about the theme of today's session.
Sure. Yeah. So the title, so take ownership of your health. Basically, when we're thinking about that, I wanted to just go back to the theme of how we usually feel like nowadays. I mean, because it's very easy to not actually feel good, to have to put on weight, to have pains in our body, to feel discomfort, to lack energy. And it's very easy just to think, oh, you know what, I'll just take painkillers, or I'm just going to try and take a magic pill to try and make the problem go away. But usually what we do is that we don't actually get rid of the problem, we only get rid of the symptoms. And we have sort of been de-responsibilized. I mean, when it comes to our health, we think that we can eat as much processed food as we want. We think that we can run on 4 cups of coffee a day or 5 hours of sleep, during the week. And then if we don't feel good, that's okay, because that's life, and we have a busy life, we're having fun. But if we then don't feel good, it's just we don't necessarily make the link between the two. Whereas basically we could just rather than thinking oh, I'm just going to take something to make the problem go away, nowadays we should actually just pause for a minute and be like, why do I feel like this? Because technically our bodies are wonderful machines that are that were beautifully designed, and they're actually supposed to thrive when we look after our bodies. So it's just yeah, it was putting back that focus on we are responsible for our health. And so yeah, I want to put that, the theme of the year is take ownership of your health and then your life, because both are intimately linked. It is something that once you've got your health, basically sort of everything falls into place in life, because you then have more energy, you've got more confidence, you run after opportunities, you want to do so much more. But when you don't have it, it's so much easier to just stay sort of stuck somewhere. So yeah, that was for the title.
I love it. I love it. I mean, obviously, we're both coaches, so we're all about accountability, ownership. Like, this is definitely a theme that I love talking about with my clients. And I have to say, from experience, a lot of the clients I've had a chance to work with have experienced the best results when they were absolutely connected and having that holistic approach of not only looking at their career, but also at their life and therefore at their health. So I thought it was a very, very important thing to actually cover. And also, I mean, obviously we can talk about that. I'm keen to have your thoughts, but as this new year starts, I think it's a great opportunity to not just head down back to where and how things were. I think it's a great opportunity to actually pause and reflect, and like you say, to take ownership about potentially the things that were not working for us before and find ways to implement potentially solutions or do things differently so we further connected. So on that note, we obviously are going to talk about solutions and options and tips to help you take ownership of your health. But before we do that, I thought it was actually quite interesting to dive into potentially the challenges, the obstacles that you might have seen from your experience from the clients that you're working with. What would you say is or are the main obstacles when it comes to taking ownership of our health?
Yeah, I mean, it's a in a way, it's a great place to start, even though it's not like, oh, let's focus onto like the negative straight away. But it's
Mm,
also like, I think, important to realize what could be blocking ourselves before we actually decide to like change everything, because it's the beginning of the year. But yeah, I think like the main challenges that some of my clients face, or like people in general, is just like when they think about, oh, they want to be healthier or they want to change things, is that first of all, a lot of people think that being healthy or like having a healthy lifestyle is boring or complicated, or that we lack time. It's just like, so I'll start with the boring one. I like this one because it's true that usually people are, oh yeah, but obviously I don't want to eat just like carrots and broccoli for the rest of my life. Like, don't worry, neither do I. Like, this is definitely not what I'm doing. And that, like, the fact that it's boring is like when we think about what we normally eat. Let's say on a regular basis, let's say if you're getting like takeout all the time, if you're going out or eating processed food, then you know that you're probably going to have to like sort of step away from that a little bit. So obviously you're like, oh, I don't know what else to do. So that boring factor is more like, sometimes it's more about ignorance, and that's
mm,
absolutely fine. Like, even before, when I went onto that health journey, I didn't really know what to eat either. And
mm,
honestly, I was probably eating the same time all the time, but the same thing all the time. Now I have so many like possibilities. I'm always trying new things, like whether it's for like what I eat or what I'm going to do, whether it's with the physical activity that I'm doing, or if I'm trying to meditate, or if I'm trying to journal. Like there are so many things in that sphere that are good for you, that you can, like, if you just decide to just go and look for it. If you decide to go, like, you can actually find things to do, and probably so much more things, like so many more foods like to eat, so many more
mm,
physical activities, so many more ways to actually feel good, like feel joy in your life, and feel like and then actually happiness, because once you're happy, like aligned on so many things, like you actually feel so much happier. But yeah, so that's the topic about it, like about being boring. It's just like, I also think that the other side, like if you think that being healthy is boring, well, being unhealthy looks quite terrifying actually. But
mm.
that's for another day. Um, the fact that we think that having a healthy lifestyle is complicated. I do agree with that idea, like in a way, because there are so many things out there. We read all the time, like studies that say, oh, you shouldn't eat meat, and then the next day it's like, actually, you should, because you need your protein, like you need actually animal protein and amino acids from that. And it's just like there's so many things that we hear all the time. We don't really know what to do anymore. But
Mm,
I think one of the things that we need to remind ourselves of is that we are all like bio individuals. So we all have a unique biochemistry, which means that, even if, let's say, actually my father-in-law can't have gluten at all, but his son can. And like, what is that? Like, these kind of things, like we don't really know. Like I can't digest dairy very well, but my siblings can. And it's just like, we're all very different. So we need to find what works for us. So if somebody tells you, oh, you need to go gluten free, or you need to do this, you need to stop that. If they don't know anything about who you are and about your history, like they're probably not giving you a great advice. So you really have to like come back to that concept of like, we're all different and not everything will work for everybody. So there isn't one diet that works for everybody. There isn't like one sport that works for everybody. There isn't like, if you love journaling in the morning, it might not be for like your best friend. If you like running, I don't know, like 15K a week, it might not be for someone. And also you've got different seasons of life, like things that you like now might be different from what you did, like 5 years ago. Like we are always evolving. So we need to be like aware of that, like aware of the fact that, like right now, there are things that work for me. There are things that will not work for me. And maybe there are things that will work for me in the future, but for me, it's not now. So yeah, the complicated, it's just like we have to remove that complexity from like, from our life and just like focus on, trying new things and like evolving and accepting that not everything is made for us.
Love that. So many things to unpack from what you said. The first thing that comes to mind, when it comes to, for example, it to be boring, I guess for anyone who is potentially in that situation, what you've unpacked obviously worked well. And I would say just listening to the creative side of you, right? Like if you're thinking a carrot is boring, well, make it sexy, right? Like make it, spice it up, or untangle it with some amazing ingredients so you can actually challenge yourself to think differently. Because for example, with cooking, I was literally talking about that just earlier with the family I'm with, and we're just saying cooking is actually so meditative in a way. So following your instinct, and you're connecting with yourself. You're away from screens, which nowadays is actually harder and harder. And I think there is a fantastic opportunity to that. Now, the other thing that I want to say as well is that from what you shared, I love what you said when it comes to not necessarily following anyone's advice, and really tuning into what you truly want and need. Sometimes I know it's hard, but I think it does require a sense of reconnecting with yourself away from external distractions. Now, I also want to ask you, coming from the other side, which is, well, you know what? It's so overwhelming thinking about all of those things out there: eating meat, not eating meat, sleeping before 10 o'clock, meditating, journaling, exercising. Like, there are so many things. Like, where do I start? I guess is my question to you.
I think the first, the first thing would be just like start small. Really start small. Don't think that suddenly you're going to change everything, that you're going to change your life. I mean, you can if you want to, that's amazing. But there is so much sort of like, especially pressure, at the beginning of the year, we're like, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, what are your goals? What have you decided? It's just like, and suddenly it's just like, oh my God, I don't know, what am I doing? But like, if you decide to just like start small and see, what could work for you. Like, so, okay, so what do I want to do this year? What could I do? If it's like, if you want to eat better and like start exercising, I'd say like, start with eating better, because like you have to eat 3 times a day at least. Well, depending on what you decide to do, but it's just like, let's say you're eating 3 times a day, like, you have to make choices 3 times a day. So like it's not okay. So like one thing at a time, it means that you're going to have to maybe make a list of things that you're buying at the shop, because like, it's not just like I need to eat healthy. If your cupboard is still full of like, all the things that you had over Christmas, like all of the celebrations, all of the alcohol that need to disappear, like, it's going to disappear one way or another. So it could be like, you take everything. If you have things that are not like, just for eating, if you have things that, you don't want to eat them anymore, put everything in a bag, give it to the neighbor, they'll be very happy. But, just like taking things like one step at a time. I had a friend like a few years ago who was telling me, decided I'm going to eat keto, and I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week. Just like, okay, when was the last time you went to the gym? Probably 2 years ago. It's like, I mean, how, like, do you even know what gym you're going to go to? Do you have, your workout outfit? Do you know what you're going to do at the gym? It's just like, you have to plan. So just like, start small, and then second thing would be have a plan. Make sure that you have things like, like prepared. And this is like one of the books that I read recently, that I think you recommended to me, Atomic Habits, that a lot of people have read like now, but it's just like, it's so true. You have to prepare, because, well, as we say, like, we hear all the time, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. But when you don't have a plan, and you're like, yep, I'm just going to do that, from now. It's like, okay, when it's time to actually start, just like, oh, and it's very easy to forget. So yeah, so like, start small, decide what you're going to do, and then have a plan. I think that would be like the first two
I love
things.
that. And to be honest, I would say if someone comes to me about their career and putting some changes in place to actually have something that is more aligned with them, I would say the same thing. So I think those apply to health, but to anything that you're trying to accomplish in life. Starting small, having a plan, and also not being too hard on yourself, like put a plan in place, like you're saying, that is going to allow you to progress on that path, but be gentle on the fact that it is a journey. And I think it's as much as embracing the journey as it is for the destination, for example, because with the new year, I do hear a lot of people talking about some specific goals that they're looking to achieve, such as running a marathon or losing X amount of weight, which I think is fantastic. But I also think, like, don't see how it will look like once you've accomplished it. Like, put some things in place to enjoy the ride as you're going on that journey, because there is so much to learn as well on that journey, I would say.
No, you're right. And especially like, if you're not actually putting like, a process or like, different steps that you like, you're never actually going to implement them. So if you said, like, exactly like somebody who wants to run a marathon, but if they don't like to run for more than an hour, well, I mean, unless they decided to break a world record, like, it's unless it's already broken. But anyway, but it's just like, it's going to be tough. Like, just like, don't be afraid of trying new things, and maybe you realize that actually it's not really for you. I did that. I think like last year, I was like, you know what? I hear about, like, I've been hearing for so long about doing a gratitude journal. So I was like, okay, so it had been on my mind for a while. Then one day I was like, I think the reason I haven't started is because I don't have a notebook to do that. So I bought a notebook, put it next to my bed with a pen, and I started doing it. And then I was like, you know what? I mean, so it was okay. I could find like 10 things I had, like, that was my objective, like to write 10 things I was grateful for at the end of the day. And it wasn't difficult to find it. And I'm a rather positive person anyway, so it's just like, even during the day, sometimes it's like, wow, this is amazing, so like, it's so good. But so it was sort of easy. But at the end of this, I had told myself, just do it for 3 weeks. And at the end of the 3 weeks, it was just like, not sure it's actually doing that. I'm not sure it's doing that much of a difference for me. So I was like, okay, I'll try something else. And that's fine. Maybe I'll try it again in the future. I actually thought about it like for this year, but it's just like, maybe at some point, maybe in 4 months, I'll be like, yeah, let's try and do that. Like, if I get stressed at some point, or if I have like, like too many things that start happening. But, I felt okay with that decision, because I know that, it's not necessarily that I failed, just like I tried it, didn't really do that much of a difference. Okay, move on, and that's fine.
Love that. Love that. And I think it brings me to another thing I was keen to explore with you, which I think there is a huge importance of taking the time to assess, what does healthy means to you? Maybe for some people it's about the food, maybe for some people it's about the exercise, maybe it's a combination of different things. I know, for example, for me, being healthy is sort of what I've started to do in 2022, which is doing a different bunch of exercises, and not like feeding into just one path, but actually I'm doing CrossFit, I'm doing running, I'm doing yoga, all these things. That just works for me, because I don't like to have like just one thing, and just, I love the variety, as you probably know. Point is, that's me, and I love the meditating, journaling. But also, for example, I've been in France traveling for like the past 3.5 weeks. Well, CrossFit has been gone out of the window. So talking about taking ownership, I actually took ownership in the sense that I was not in control of my environment anymore, or not as much as I wanted to. So during this past 3.5 weeks, what I've just done is running, but I've run more than before, which is great. I've actually tweaked it. Point is, I know that my vision of being healthy includes a variety of things, but they don't have to be at like the maximum level at any time. They actually are fluctuating. They're like, we've got the French expression like vase communicant, which means, that there is always like one leaning in, one going back, or whatever. We can say that in English. Point is, that's mine. I just want to know two things from you. What's yours? As in, what's your vision of being healthy, being a health coach? I definitely want to know that. And also, for anyone who is on that journey of identifying what does it mean for me to be healthy, what would be your tip? So we can unpack the second one at a later stage, but I was keen to make sure that I share that with you before I forget about it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's being healthy is just like being happy with all the choices that I make. So before before I went on on that journey, it was very much like I was constantly trying to lose weight. I wasn't trying, actually. I was just very sad about the fact that I was not losing weight. But I wasn't really doing anything about it. Well, I was, but a lot of it was happening in my mind. And it's like, it was basically always, are you exercising enough? What are you eating? But it's just like, it was constantly, I was not doing it from a place of, a place of joy, or a place of a place of fullness, I'd say. But it was more like it was
A
very
duty.
exactly. Yeah. And it was also like every time that I was eating food, it was more like, oh, is it that bad for me? Maybe. And I think like what has changed like for me recently was more like, is it good for me? So that every time that I like now, either when I'm in the shop, when I'm doing this, when I'm doing that, just like, is it good for me? And that shifted like so many things, like, on so many levels. And suddenly I was sort of like, I'm thinking like, I actually have to do things that are good for me so that then I can be good for others. Because like, if I don't feel good, I can't give of myself like anything to my partner, to my family, to my friends, to like, to colleagues, to like, to clients, to anybody. So I have to also like, I have to be able to nourish myself, whether it's on the plate or off the plate. So now I just know that one of my like of all time thing is like, it will always be, first of all, eat more vegetables. I know it's like a grandma's advice, but I think grandma was right, because like, there's so once you start doing this, it sort of like shifts your thinking, because you're more connected to nature, because you're more likely to then like go to like either to your farmer's market or to the shop, and then trying to find like, oh, what's in season at the moment? Oh, actually, what can I try with this? What can I like? It's just like, it's always, I think, like eating more vegetables now, and I've even like managed to do that with my fiance. Like now, he's always like, "Ooh, what vegetables can we make for dinner?" And it's just like, and before, like he always had broccoli. That was the only thing he was eating. But now, like when he makes dinner, we've got like 4 vegetables on the plate, and I love that, because then we don't have space for much else. Like we don't have space for like lots of, I don't know, lots of bread, because obviously I love my bread. I'm French, so but we don't have space for like other things, like, or like, I don't know, things from like, we don't do microwave things, but like we know that if we fill our plate with vegetables, like this is like one of the things, like this is like the basics. And just like at the end of the day, oh, how many vegetables have I eaten? I'm just like, sometimes I'm just proud of myself, just because I'm eating vegetables. I know it's ridiculous, but yeah. So it's like, is it good for me? And eat vegetables. I think that's like my biggest one. But then, yeah, if we're asking about somebody else, I think like it would be one of the great questions that I got from, I think, from when I got my coaching certification, is like, if you had a magic wand, what could you change about you? And I think this is just like, it always gets like back to the heart of like what you want. Like if you're trying to make changes in your life, like what could you change if you could just do anything right now? And it really is asking the question, like, what do I want? What's important to me? What matters? Yeah, I think that's another of these like as a tip, like for, if you're trying to shift, if you want to change. Yeah.
Love that. We've got less than 5 minutes left. So I guess the final thing that I want to unpack with you would be around any practical things that you would recommend for anyone who's trying to be healthy. I mean, I definitely want to eat more vegetables, just hearing about, what you said here. Is there anything else in terms of the work that you do with your clients, or anything else that you've implemented personally? I mean, my main takeaways from our conversation so far is make sure that you do have a plan, but that you do keep it simple. You start small to put all the chances of your success on your side. To eat your vegetables, of course. And also to make sure that you do change things. Like, you don't put too much pressure of like doing something for the sake of doing it. Like, if it doesn't work for you, like you with the gratitude journal, just feel free to move on to something else that potentially work better. Those were my main takeaways, and they're already very, very valuable ones. But anything else that you would recommend for anyone who's trying to put all of the chances on success on their side for 2023 on the health side of things?
Yeah.
No pressure.
What I mean, I think one of the things that has really, really helped me in the last few years is having a tracker. Because then I put all of the things that I want to do just during the day. And then at the end of the day, I'm just like, oh, what did I do today? And doing that exercise and coming back to these like things that I wanted to do during the day, just like, it's more like in my mind, I stop forgetting about them. Because it's so easy to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to meditate tomorrow. Okay. If you don't actually think about it, if it's not in the diary, if it's not like, we have always got like, a million things to do. We're pulled in so many directions, but having that tracker is one of the things that has helped me, and I know that it's helped other people as well. So, and one of the things that like, I always it's an example that I come back with all the time is on my habit tracker is the cold shower. So at the end of every shower, I try to finish with 30 seconds of cold water. It's new. I've been doing that for I think a year. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I think I was born in July. I'm pretty sure that it's linked. I like being warm. But yeah, I hate the cold. Anyway, I know that, cold water is good for you. So I'm trying to do that. And sometimes I'm in the shower debating if I'm going to turn the faucet, honestly. And sometimes how much, literally this morning, it's just how much do I want to do this? How much do I want to tick it in my tracker? And then it's just you know what? In 5 minutes, and I've forgotten that I've done it. However, I will see on my tracker at the end of the week that I did it.
Empty cell. Yep.
And it worked. So I think this is my magic trick. The tracker.
I love it. It's really funny. Two things. First is that I saw the series with Chris Hemsworth, Thor, the actor. There is a theory called Limitless on National Geographic, so it's on Disney Plus. Point is, literally yesterday, it was about facing the cold. I can't remember how it was called, the title of the episode, but it was talking about how much cold water is good for you, and literally doing a 30-second cold shower is something that's actually good. So for anyone who's looking for some inspiration about things they can implement, cold shower is one, but also the series are actually quite good. I've watched just 2 episodes, but I loved it so far. So that's that. And also the tracker, literally I was talking about that with a client this morning. I love a tracker. The one thing I would say is almost disclosure, word of advice. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to tick all of the boxes all the time, because exactly like you said, mine does have meditation and, exercising and reading and all variety of things. And to me, a good month is when I do, for example, I would say 10 to 15 days where I tick all of those boxes, which means I do have half of the time where I'm not going to tick all of the boxes, and that's okay. So I would say, yes, love a tracker, go for a tracker, but also make sure you've got the right mindset behind that. But it definitely is a magic advice. Thank you for that. Any final thing that you want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think one of the things I was thinking about is just as you said, it's about mindset. I think being healthy is a state of mind. It's not about it's not just about doing this, doing that. It's also it's how you feel in everything that you do. It's just are you somebody who, identifies as a healthy person, or are you an unhealthy person who's trying to do something else? But it's just, it's just really reframing your thinking and just from now on, you're just a healthy person. You're making good choices for you, like, in your life, for yourself, for your work, for your life, for, like, in your relationships. There's so much more than, like, the food you eat and the exercise that you do. It's also very much about the thoughts you entertain, like the relationships that you have, the joy you create, and, like, so many different things. So really, I think being healthy is a state of mind.
Oh, I love it. There is no better way to finish that session. Thank you so much, Margot, for all of the great advice.
Thank you.
Anyone who has joined us, thank you as well. It was amazing. If there is anything that you've got questions about, feel free to reach out to Margot and myself after that. We are here to make sure you've got a healthy, happy 2023. And on that note, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.